No, they are literally everywhere. In the air you're breathing right now, in the food you eat, even inside our own bodies. We're talking about microorganisms, a whole unseen world that can be our absolute worst enemy or our most powerful friend. So how can something be both? Well, let's dig in and find out. All right, so first up, we're going to explore this invisible landscape that is all around us. What exactly are these things we call microbes, and where do they even fit into the grand story of life? I mean, we've all been there, right? You forget about a loaf of bread for a few days, and boom, it's covered in these weird, kind of fuzzy patches. You might just toss it out thinking it's spoiled, but what you're actually looking at is a thriving city of living organisms. And those patches, well, they're made of microorganisms, or as you'll often hear them called, microbes. And the name says it all. They are so incredibly tiny that you can't see them with just your eyes. You need a microscope. So there's the mystery of the moldy bread solved. But trust me, they are involved in so much more than that. Now this huge, unseen world isn't just one big category of germs. Oh no. Scientists actually classify them into 4 major groups, and you'll probably recognize some of these names. You've got bacteria, fungi, like that bread mold we just talked about, protozoa, and even some kinds of algae. And just look at how different they can be. Here on the left, you've got these little rod-shaped bacteria. And on the right, that's an amoeba, which is a type of single-celled protozoa with that classic kind of blobby shape. Both are microbes for sure, but they look like they're from completely different planets. But wait, there's one more major player we have to talk about, and that's viruses. They're microscopic too, but they play by a totally different set of rules. Think of them like tiny little pirates. They can't do anything on their own. They have to actually invade the cells of a living host, like a person, an animal, or even a bacterium, to be able to reproduce. So now that we've kind of met the cast of characters, let's get into the side of microbes that's given them such a bad rap. It's time to talk about the foe. And this is really where that notorious reputation comes from. Different kinds of microbes are the culprits behind some of the most serious diseases humanity has ever faced. You've got tuberculosis, or TB, which is caused by bacteria. Malaria, that's from a protozoa. And some really devastating illnesses like polio and chickenpox, yep, those are the work of viruses. And it's not just the big, life-threatening diseases either. These microscopic foes are also responsible for all those everyday sicknesses. You know, that common cold you got last winter, the flu, or that annoying cough that just wouldn't go away? You guessed it, most of those are caused by viruses too. Okay, so we've definitely established they can be pretty awful. But, and this is a big but, that is only half the story. Now we're gonna flip the script entirely. It's time to meet the unexpected friend. And this is where it gets really interesting. We spend so much energy trying to get rid of germs, but what if some of them are actually essential for us? I mean, what if we literally couldn't live without them? Because it turns out many of them are. These hidden helpers are constantly at work for us. They help make some of our favorite foods like curd and bread. They're the source of life-saving medicines. They even help clean up our environment and make our soil rich and fertile so we can grow food. So, how does this all work? How do they do all this amazing stuff? Let's take a closer look at these friendly microbes and the incredible jobs they're doing for us every single day. So, let's take curd or yogurt. That tangy, creamy goodness is all thanks to a very specific bacterium called lactobacillus. When you add a bit of curd to warm milk, these little bacteria just multiply like crazy, converting the sugars in the milk and turning the whole thing into curd. It's pretty cool. Or how about a warm, fresh loaf of bread? The magic ingredient is yeast, which is actually a type of fungus. When it's mixed into dough, the yeast starts to breathe in a way. It eats the sugar and releases tiny bubbles of carbon dioxide gas. Those bubbles get trapped inside the dough, making it puff up and rise. And that's what gives bread that wonderful, fluffy texture we love. Now that same process, when we use it a little differently, is called fermentation. It's how yeast turns sugar into alcohol. It's a trick humans have been using for thousands of years to make things like wine, beer, and vinegar. It's just wild to think that without this one tiny fungus, some of the world's oldest industries would just not exist. And our understanding of this stuff isn't new. It's been a really long journey of discovery. It goes way back to 1798 when Edward Jenner created the very first vaccine. Then you fast forward to 1857, and that's when Louis Pasteur officially discovered and explained fermentation. And then a huge breakthrough happened in 1929, thanks to Alexander Fleming. Let's just stop on Jenner for a second. What he figured out was that if you expose people to a much weaker version of a microbe, you could basically train their bodies to fight off the really deadly disease. His work with smallpox was the blueprint for every modern vaccine we have today, and it saved millions upon millions of lives. Now, Fleming's big moment was actually a complete accident. He was growing bacteria in a petri dish, and he noticed that a patch of green mold had gotten in and contaminated it. But here's the incredible part. Right around that mold, all the bacteria were dead. The mold was actively killing them. And from that accidental mold, Fleming isolated penicillin, the world's very first antibiotic. Today, tons of antibiotics, like streptomycin and tetracycline, come from microorganisms. These are the medicines that kill or stop the growth of harmful bacteria, and they absolutely revolutionized modern medicine. So, we've seen both sides of the coin, haven't we? The destructive foe and the incredibly helpful friend. And this brings us to the reality of our relationship with this whole unseen world. It's not simple. It's a complex alliance. It's a true split personality. On the one hand, microbes give us delicious food and life-saving drugs. But on the other hand, they cause horrible diseases and can spoil our food. They are both creators and destroyers, essential partners and deadly enemies, all at the same time. And that's really the big question we're left with, isn't it? We live in a world completely shaped by these tiny organisms. They have the power to unleash global pandemics, but they also hold the secrets to creating new medicines and technologies. So the real challenge for all of us moving forward is to figure out how to navigate this incredibly deep, complex, and powerful alliance.